Thanks so much for joining us today. Since the springtime, I know it's been really of tremendous interest about, how do we make good virtual performance recordings? What does the process look like? What do you use in terms of software and so on? And I know that sometimes audio and video editing, especially if we don't have a background in those areas, can seem kind of daunting or mysterious, and maybe we don't know where to get started. So, with that in mind, I have to say, I'm just so excited to see us here today, working in partnership with Stephen Weber and his team at Berkeley NYC. Um, Over the past couple of years, Berkeley has really provided, several wonderful resources and supports to us and to our New York City students, including working with us late last spring to produce the virtual performance video that you just saw before the start. And, while our All City High School music program and Salutes and music programs couldn't hold live culminating performances, we were really glad that our students, and especially our seniors, were able to participate in a special project like this. And we know that many of you are interested in, making many of those same kind of projects go and giving our students these memories to be able to share with friends and families to showcase their performances really for years to come. So I think I speak on behalf of everybody here, just to say that we're so grateful to Berkeley NYC for working with us and for crafting this 3-part workshop series. It's really designed not only to give us a bird's eye view of the whole process, but to drill down and help us build the technical skills and the knowledge that we need to be able to make high quality, inspiring virtual performance videos. And with that context, now I'd like to introduce Berkeley NYC's Executive Director, Stephen Weber.
Thank you, Liz. Can everybody hear me okay? Give me a little thumbs up if you can. Fantastic. Okay. Well, I'm also just want to say we are really pleased to be here. We're honored to be invited to spend some time with you guys and to support the amazing work that you're doing in the Department of Education, Music Department, and music programs. We've been so blessed to be able to work with Liz and her team and many of you in the past on a lot of different projects, and we plan to keep doing the same thing. And I thought I'd give you kind of an overview of what we're going to do today, and then we'll just start digging right down into it. I'm going to try sharing my screen here real quick, and let's see how this goes. And here we go. Okay, so as Liz says, we're part of Berkeley. A lot of you may be familiar with Berklee College of Music in Boston. I think it's the largest music college in the world at this point. But then we also have Berkeley Online, which has been doing a lot of stuff lately, especially during the pandemic. Tons and tons of people have been turning to Berkeley Online. We started building this 10, 12 years ago, and I know that many of you have done coursework and even degrees. We offer bachelor's and master's degrees online as well. We also have a campus in Valencia, Spain, which has master's programs in things like music production technology innovation and writing for film, television, and video games. And then we also merged just a couple of years ago with the Boston Conservatory at Berkeley. So we now also have more performing arts, including a theater program and a dance program, both of which are very established. Now we are here at Berkeley NYC. We're starting a new campus right here in New York, which we're very excited about. We are located in the Power Station, and we're calling it now the Power Station at Berkeley NYC. This was called Avatar Studios for many years as well. It's a legacy studio that we are so happy to be able to be a part of saving from the pressures of real estate prices in Manhattan. Records that have been made there over the years, include everything from, Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen to the Hamilton soundtrack and a lot of stuff in between. Herbie Hancock's The Joni Letters, which he won a Grammy for. We've also, since we opened, took over the studio, and we ran it for about 14 months before we closed down for renovations. We did a lot of work with quite a few companies here in New York, as well as record companies and publishers as well. We also got the chance to work on some really fun video projects that have aired over the last year or two, as well as a whole bunch of television clients and a lot of Broadway cast albums as well. So now I'm going to kind of go through what we're going to be doing today and then introduce you to your presenters. So first off, as we go through this today, please, by all means, we want this to be interactive, and we want to make sure that this is of value to you. So please, if you have any questions as we go along, please take advantage of the chat and write your questions in the chat. Glenn will be facilitating this first portion, and questions that get asked in the chat, Glenn will kind of be curating those and presenting those. And then as we go into the breakout groups as well, there will be a presenter and there will be a curator. And the curator's gig is going to be to take a look at the questions in the chat and to try and make sure that those get answered. If it's a question that we know is going to be answered during the presentation, we may actually wait to ask the question. But you all are professional educators, so I'm sure you're very familiar with that. But we want to make sure that your questions get answered today, and that this is good. So the first thing that's going to happen as soon as I'm done is I will be turning it over to Laser Melina Weber, who will be talking about maximizing your success in doing these virtual music videos, talking about everything from pre-production through actually recording the videos, and we'll have a lot of good advice and tools and strategies to maximize your success in doing this. Then we're going to be going into breakout groups, and we've organized the breakout groups by DAW, by Digital Audio Workstation, and we sent out a request for you to say which digital audio workstation you're using. So they will be broken out by GarageBand, Logic, and Audacity. And each one of those will have a teacher and a facilitator. Now, if you're not in the one that you want, don't worry, we're going to be recording all of these. And we will be sharing this entire session as well as all the breakout groups with all of you afterwards. So if you're thinking, you may want to switch DAWs during this, if that's one of the things you're kind of curious about, you'll be able to go in and take a look at all the different ones. Then when we come back from the breakout sessions will be about 30 minutes. And then when we come back, we will have a short overview of video editing software from 3 of our presenters. And that will be iMovie and Final Cut Pro and also Premiere. And we do this to kind of give you an idea, again, of just what's out there, what's possible. So you can be thinking about, are you using the tool that you want to be using, or do you maybe want to consider switching? And then we'll have more Q&A at the end, facilitated again by Glenn. So let me introduce you to the presenters. First off, we have Ian Kagi, who is Director of Operations, an amazing Grammy-nominated engineer with lots of experience here in New York and abroad. We also have Gloria Caba, who is an amazing audio engineer and producer, who is also has an amazing career here in New York. We also then have Glenn Forsyth, who is our multimedia producer at Berkeley NYC, also an amazing musician and technologist and engineer. Ryan Nava, we call him Special Ops because he basically does everything, including has a very cool t-shirt collection. There's nothing that Ryan can't do. And then we also have Simon Yu, who is a filmmaker who is amazing at what he does. He actually had a lot to do, as did Ian and Glenn and others, with the video that you just saw. He has been doing a lot of video editing for us over the last year. He's also a Berkeley alum and a great musician. And then the first presenter that we're going to be having today is Laser Melina Weber, who is a musician, writer, and director, and also has been doing a lot of developing of curriculum on this very area of doing virtual music videos. So let me just turn it now over to Laser Melina Weber, who can take the screen from me and take it away.
Thank you so much. Let me begin sharing my presentation now. Hi, everybody. I am Laser Melina Weber. As Steven said, I have been making music videos with the internet for a long time, starting with my YouTube band. And it has been a very fun process to start making and teaching people how to make these music videos. Let me know if you can see and hear me. And let me know if you can see my beautiful keynote presentation, of which I am extremely proud. The first thing I wanted to do, was press the right arrow key and say, and just ask real quick how, like on a scale of 1 to 5, how familiar folks are with audio and video editing. If you could just tell me in the chat, just to make sure that everybody is alive, and also just so I know it would help me. Okay, I see a 0, a 3.5. Okay. That is very helpful for me to know. A 6. You're such teachers. I love it so much. My husband is a teacher, and they're the most. You break the rules, and I love it. Okay, cool. So no one answer, which is perfect. Great. Well, what I want to do is really go through this process of preparing you to make a really awesome video. And the thing that really helps make a really awesome video is extremely good preparation. You are going to thank yourself when you get into editing software. Even if you have never ever used it before, you will really thank your past self if you've done some good planning, some good telling your students to do very specific things. Because if you haven't done that, you're going to be kind of hitting your head against the wall. And as a person who has made a ton of these videos, I find myself going, oh gosh, if I had only planned ahead just a little bit better, this would have gone so much clearer now that I'm in the editing stage. So that's what I'm going to talk you through for the next 30 minutes. First, I want to give you an overview of the whole process, just so you can kind of see the zoomed out picture of what the basic outline is for this whole thing. So, right arrow. There we go. The overview of the process. First, we do pre-production. So this is everything before we press record. I recommend creating a script and a storyboard. It's the kind of thing that you make for any film, and even if it's pretty simple, making a script, which could, in your case, be sheet music, and having a storyboard that looks like the final product of your video, really helpful. Then we're going to do the rehearsal, thinking about video. Then we're going to create the reference track. So important, and we're not going to forget about this, and we'll talk about all of that stuff and how we're going to use the audio editing software, the DAW. The Berkeley folks say that like everybody knows what it means, and I've just recently learned it, so excuse me. And then setting up the file request to gather all the files in a really convenient way so that you can get it all together. That's always a trick, is the next step. And then sending your instructions to your collaborators, the last part of pre-production. Then we get into production and post-production. So the students are going to record their performances, they send in their videos, and then you start editing your video using iMovie, Final Cut, Premiere, or whatever your video is. The next thing is we recommend strongly that you separate your audio from your video and edit and mix it separately. This is going to make a huge difference if you really get that into your DAW and make some really nice finesses and blending, just because it's so many different tracks. And that's going to be something we talk about very briefly today, and a lot more, I think, in our third session, because there is just a lot to talk about there. And then you want to update that video edit with your final audio. This is kind of a recursive process. Then you're going to assemble and export your final project, and then upload it to the internet. There we go. There's our whole producing a video process. You have become an entire Hollywood studio in your apartment. Good job. All right, so pre-production is important. Editing can be infinitely time-consuming, but is made much simpler by planning ahead. So the first thing that you really want to think about is the reference track. Reference tracks help everyone stay on time, in tune, and create a uniform track to edit later. So why can't I? Yeah. The reference track is the way that everybody is going to stick together. So this is a recording of the song that you're using that everybody will play along with, so that you aren't just, you can't just send out to everybody and say, play the song, because they might be playing a slightly different tempo. You might be playing a slightly different tune. So we recommend that you go and find, and I think I'm going to tell you exactly how to do that. Yeah. But that is why pre-production is important, because you want to make that plan. Storyboards help you make a plan and prevent future problems in your editing, and visualizing your final product before you even begin, giving clear instructions that are hopefully followed, which they won't be, all obviously, you know that. They're going to save you so much time. So let's get into it. These are two examples of storyboards that are extremely, extremely good because I am an excellent artist. I can only see one of you reacting, and you are my favorite person. The first one I have here on the left is just 4 people on screen smiling. This is if you wanted to have everybody on screen the whole time, right? This is a good thing to think about. If that's your plan, because you don't have like Simon's Final Cut editing skills to constantly be pulling people in and out of the video, which is a thing that takes a lot of work, right? You want to know that ahead of time, because you want to be able to tell your students, by the way, you're going to be on screen the whole time. So don't look at your iPhone halfway through the video, because your mom's going to see that you got bored watching other people perform. You know, when you're standing on stage, you don't get to just kind of wander off when it's not your turn. So this is what the storyboard gives you the opportunity to do. It's basically just your production plan, right? It's what the stage will look like the whole time, except that it's your video. Actually, like sitting down and thinking about what the video is going to look like at every moment, and using one of these storyboard templates really, really helps with that. The one on the left is one person at a time. Is that something you want to do? Is that, or the one on the right, sorry, is one person at a time. Is that something you want to do? It's a lot more editing work, but it is maybe more dynamic. You can start thinking there about, like, do you want one person looking this direction and another person looking that direction? Do you want them looking at each other? That's really fun. Do you want people super close to the camera, super far away from the camera? Do you want everybody looking right into it? Storyboards create an opportunity for you to like plan ahead, and I think that's a really smart and often skipped part of the process. What direction is your camera okay. Who says or plays what and when? What maybe shoot music? What and who will be on the screen at what time? A great planning tool. And then the other things I didn't mention. Which direction is your camera facing? Horizontal or vertical? This is always the problem when you get into editing. Generally, if you start recording a video and you're under the age of 30, you hold your camera like this. But if you're watching a video, you probably watch your video like this. So let's make sure we decide and tell everybody how to hold your camera. What are your framing angle and eyeline choices? And obviously these things might change as we get into it. The reference track, here we go. What is it? A recording of the song that everyone plays along to, which will not be heard in the final product. So this is also the really, really good thing about a reference track. And we'll show you how to do this later today, but you can and should include some cool things in your reference track that you send out to your students. So this is just An MP3, a song that your collaborators are going to listen to in their headphones while they're playing or singing along. And this will include, like, at the beginning, a count-in, like, here we go, everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, play. And then maybe if the song slows down or speeds up, if there's a big crescendo, if there's a big ending, you can also say that in the middle of the track. This is something that you may not want to do on stage, just loudly yell at everybody, here we go, it's time. But they won't be able to see you when they're recording, so go for it. And using just a little bit of your DAW, we'll show you how to do that. So you can find that reference track on the JW Pepper website using your local library online, or find a YouTube video, scrape the video off of that, and you'll just add a little bit. Just doing a little bit of work to it to make it actually helpful is a really good idea. Just sending out the track without adding an account in is gonna be, it's not gonna quite give you everything that you need, because when you have your final product, you're basically just going to have a bunch of people playing a song, right? But if you have a bunch of people playing a song and at the beginning everyone claps at the same time, oh boy, then you not only have a visual visual image of everybody clapping, you also have a really beautiful waveform. And you will eventually see this in the audio editing software, how beautiful and crisp a clap waveform is, and how I have often edited videos without even listening to them, and am able to almost with 100% accuracy, like, line up a whole bunch of audio files together just because you have that crisp clap. It's a good feeling, folks. It feels so good. So yes, let me make sure I'm sharing my sound. I am. Okay, great. Then I want to play for you this sample track that I have created. That is a very good example of how to, please, what kind of sample track you might send to students if they were, like, singing along or playing along to a song. Let me know if you can hear this. Please make sure you're wearing headphones. I'm going to count to 4 and then say clap. Please count to 4 on your fingers and then clap. 1, 2, 3, 4, clap. Oh, now we're having fun. It's just going to make for your video editing experience is just going to go so much faster. It goes from spending, like, maybe 5 minutes per video lining everything up to really, like, 20 seconds. If you have a lot of students, which I know you do, it just makes a huge difference. Okay, the next step, gathering files. So this is something that's always been tricky for me. I make videos that sometimes have up to 200 people in them, and if everybody's just emailing you a file that's like, here's my video, they're all called MVI1321.mp4, and just figure it out. It's a long couple days. If you make a really organized way to gather all the files that everybody is sending you, you're going to thank yourself. So before students record their videos, make a plan for how you're going to collect them. First of all, a naming convention for your file. So you say, once you've recorded your video, please name it something really easy for me to understand, like your last name, your instrument, and the name of your song. Melina trombone, symphony, cool symphony song, .mp4. Cool symphony song, it's my favorite song. And then you will be able to group all of these together in a really easy way. And then to gather those files, create just one place for them all to go together. It was suggested that a Google Classroom assignment is probably the easiest way for y'all to do this. As far as I understand, the file size limit on Google Classroom is super, super high, so you should be able to do that pretty easily and set a deadline. Yes, says the chat. Excellent. But if you are not using Google Classroom, just creating Google Drive save a shared folder, or at Dropbox's request file feature. All of these create a nice like one folder where everything can go together, which is very smart and a lot easier than trying to do everything in email, which is can make it so that you don't have all of the permissions to access stuff and gives your students a lot of excuses for why you didn't access the files. All right. Now that you have told them how to send you the file, let's make sure you know how they should record them. So making a really nice video is really important to the final product. You can really only make a final product that is as good as the videos that you have. So let's talk a little bit about video recording best practices. And I do have a checklist for this that I don't know if we've already sent you out, but we can send you out, that you could send to your students, or modify to send to your students so that they can just kind of go through this checklist and make sure that they're thinking about these things, because often people just don't even think about making sure that they've framed themselves and put themselves in the best light, haha, metaphorically and for real. So first of all, light. The best light is even and focused in front of your face. So like the first and easiest thing is don't sit with your back to the window in the daytime. That's going to make it so you can't see your beautiful face. But if you can maybe put a couple of lights in front of you, or sit with your face in front of a window, or whatever you can do to make it so it's brighter in front of you than behind you, that's optimal. Camera orientation, again, this choice. Usually you want it to be horizontal, but maybe you want all your videos to be vertical so you can line them up on the screen. That's totally fine. Just make sure that you know what choice you're making, because if all of your videos are horizontal except one, that's gonna just be so irritating when you get to editing. Frame your shot. How close to the camera are you? Is everybody really close up except for like one person off in the background, or is it the other way around? Again, you want this to be uniform, so just make sure you're close, and then that you don't have like one person who's like this. Gotta have just be in the shot. Eye line, check your eye line with the storyboard. That's more for like if you're doing a sketch, or make if are we all singing directly and seductively into the camera, or playing directly and seductively into the camera while playing trumpet? That's a cool choice. But maybe do it consciously. Camera stability. Are you holding your camera? Did you put it on your bed and then sit on your bed and then the whole thing is shaking and it's really horrifying to watch? That happens to me sometimes. Set it on something stable. Don't hold it. It really makes the whole thing really nauseous to watch, and it's really hard to fix. Focus. If you're not using a phone, this is more of a problem, but if you are using a phone, you usually just have to click on your face and it'll autofocus you. An angle, how is your angle? For the most part, people under 25 are really good at knowing what a good angle is on the phone. But you know, straight on or high, that's nice. Making sure that it's in front of you if that's what you want. That's good to think about at least. Don't just ignore that. Audio recording best practices. This is the stuff that's usually ignored way more than video, because people can't hear themselves being recorded. They can see themselves. So turn off the fan, turn off the air conditioning, close the windows, make sure you don't have like a fire alarm that's beeping in your room. Ask those around you for some quiet. It's so important. You can't cut that stuff out, and you're just gonna be hearing like your family watching the news in the background of the whole video if it's going on. You just can't cut it out. Avoid echoey rooms. Things that make, like, for example, make the shower a really fun room to sing in, make it a really bad room to record an ensemble performance in. So avoid that echoey room like the bathroom, and noises like a lawnmower. Pick a nice isolated space that has some stuff to absorb sound in it. And you must wear headphones. Oh, boy, this is something that folks ignore. If you're playing along with a track, which you should be, you've got to wear headphones, and they probably need to plug into something different than you're recording into. So say I'm recording on my phone, I need to plug my headphones into my computer or, my little sister's phone, so that I can listen to the track. If I have the track playing through my headphones, playing out loud, then it's just gonna sound horrible. So let's not do that. And then in terms of a microphone, I have here the best microphone distance is usually like a phone is designed to be listened into as like a phone distance. If you can see your waveforms, like if you were, for example, to be singing into a computer, using a cool microphone like this one, you want to make sure that you can see highs and lows as opposed to just like a huge red rectangle. We'll probably talk about this a little bit when we get into the DAWs, and these excellent audio engineer folks will talk to you a little bit about what good audio practices are. But generally, you don't want to be blowing out your audio by putting like an AirPod directly into the bell of a trombone or something like that. Seems like a bad idea. Just keep your microphone from being way too close to you. It is a bad idea. And then performance. Oh, if you record with a phone, do you need a separate microphone device? I know I'm not supposed to be looking at the chat, but since we're right there, you don't. In an ideal world, it would be really nice, but you don't always have to have a separate device. Like in an ideal world, it would be great to have a separate device. But if you have a phone that's a little bit of ways away and you're just singing, or Ian, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, the move is really to make sure that you have the best intelligibility possible versus the gain possible in your microphone. So like an arm's length distance is usually a pretty good for cell phones and for consumer recording levels. So it's really a balance. And the biggest thing I encourage people to do is actually, before you record the piece, is do a little test recording and make sure that the loudest portion of your recording is actually something that your phone can handle or the recording device can handle. So I think the biggest thing with this is doing a little test, seeing what the level is, finding that really sweet spot where we can really understand the diction and lyrics of what you're saying versus the level of the sound coming into the microphone.
Yeah, absolutely. I usually give a little yell and see if it sounds fuzzy.
That's that exactly.
And if it does, then talk quieter or move it further away. Because asking for a bunch of different devices seems like a lot. Stephen?
Let me chime in here real quickly. Most of you, the students almost always are just recording into the same phone, the audio into the same phone as they are also recording themselves in. So don't feel like you have to have another device for them to capture audio. Now, if they're more professionals will tend to record directly into a digital audio workstation and record themselves separately. But most student recordings, almost all of the ones that we did with the All City choirs and orchestras and jazz bands, almost everybody recorded themselves into the same, into the same phone, both the audio and the video into the same thing. And that's probably going to be what happens, I would say, with most of these.
Totally. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. Awesome. So the next thing I want to talk about is performance. This is something that we can kind of forget that we're even being recorded, and so we want to maximize our performance time. So make sure to start with your content and play with a reference track. Remember that you will be on camera even when you aren't actively singing or playing, so you should smile and pay attention and don't get bored halfway through. We don't have the time to edit you out all the time. This is something I have to remind my collaborators sometimes, like, I have other stuff to do, so just please smile and dance if you could. And then remind your collaborators to record the whole song beginning to end. You don't just get to play your measures and walk off the stage, even if you, like me, were like the fourth violin. You have to stay there and listen to everybody else who's good at music perform. So just deal with it, and record the whole song beginning to end. It'll be a lot easier to edit and tune beforehand. Remember tuning? I do. Okay. Yes. So that is the end of my prepared material, but I'm totally here for more questions if Glenn or the chat has some before we get into DAWs.
Just as one person mentioned, it's a good idea to always have that second device for the reference track.
Oh, yes, of course.
Just to clarify that is needed.
Absolutely. Yes.
Totally. And the reason why that's needed is that most phones, when you're recording video and audio simultaneously, won't let you actually play back audio to the headphones of the phone. So that's a limitation within using a phone as a recording device. So usually you'll need to use another device. That device could be something as simple as, another computer, an iPad, somebody else in the home's phone, but something that is able to connect to headphones is usually the preference. Even a simple MP3 player can be totally useful to play the guide track back. But yeah, that limitation is mainly of smartphones. None that I know of as a default lets you record a video and audio while also playing back audio at the same time.
Yeah, the good thing about phones is that they are pretty smart, like as compared to like using a microphone like this one is here for you to be able to modify, but a phone's like, okay, this is loud, I will turn myself down kind of thing, or this is bright, I will become less bright. So if something is really loud, it'll usually modify itself a little bit nice.
We have another question about, can you record the audio and the video separately? And I'm assuming that this would involve some sort of a mining situation.
Absolutely. That is way easier. Lip syncing or lip playing, I guess, is totally easier to record. Just having people play along with it, but you still want to have a clap because that'll make it way easier to line up.
There's a couple of questions in here that I want to just kind of jump in because someone's asking, shouldn't instruments be recorded way farther away? And certainly more than 5 to 8 inches. But as Ian was saying, a good arm's length is usually good, and that's often a good place to put the phone too. And again, I would say, and someone is saying, I'm a little concerned my kids can't afford much. How would they get a hold of mics? They have phones, and that's pretty much it. I totally expect that almost 99% of your kids are going to be recording just on their phone, or on their parents' phone, or on their sibling's phone, and that's certainly what we ran into before doing these with the Department of Education. And the amazing thing is, and maybe Ian can talk a little to this, what amazed us is how good that can actually turn out. Even though
Totally,
it's maybe not optimum to record on your phone, you get a whole ensemble going, and it sounds pretty good.
Yeah, there's definitely powers and numbers with this. So, it's really, if you have a single soloist recording on an iPhone, or on any phone, it's pretty easy to sort of see the seams and the edges to hear that it's recorded on a less expensive microphone. But if you get an ensemble of even 10 to 15 to 20 kids playing together, as soon as you sort of put that music together and synchronize it, it's really amazing. That sort of goes away, and you sort of start to hear it as an ensemble and as more of a homogenous thing, which is really cool. So a lot of the stuff we put together for the DOE, where we had like 30 or 40 or 50 kids, it was really amazing that the end product actually sounded really good. And as Stephen was saying, almost all of them recorded on phones in their home and in their house. So it's amazing what you can do and what you can be able to do to sort of put those together and what that sounds like. The main thing is just being really, again, the thing I would stress is just, it takes time, and it also to just do test recordings is a really, really good thing I can stress. Just because, again, you would hate to have a student go through and record an entire piece and then have that be unusable because it's really distorted or it's way too far away from the instrument or the source. So I think someone mentioned in the chat earlier to do like, kind of as practice and rehearsal to do sort of sample recordings. That's a great idea just to get everybody familiar with the process and also just to make sure that what you think you're recording, and this goes for both audio and video. I mean, there were so many of these where we got, badly framed videos or heads out of the frame or things that were hard to use video wise as well. So that really goes for both, which is that doing a test record and really seeing what the shot is going to look like and what it's going to sound like is really crucial to this process.
Right. Yeah, and I would build that into your timeline too. If you have a deadline for students to turn things in, try to build in 10 extra days or so to be able to reach out to the students who you kind of blew it the first time and ask them to try it again, because that is going to happen, and nobody's perfect. Somebody said in the chat something about fourth or fifth graders, and I think that students at that level, yes, students' parents helping, I think would probably be really, really good. And, it's, as Laser was saying, it's really good to have a stationary camera. But parents can also hold the camera. If you have somebody holding the camera and doing the filming, that can help just encourage them to try and stay very steady and not to be moving back and forth and, zooming in and out and things like that, but just to stay as stable as possible. Yeah. But yeah, I like this giving younger kids shorter clips to make them practice and coach them. I think that's a great idea. The first time they do it is not going to necessarily be as good as the second or third time that they do.
Awesome.
So,
we've hit 30 minutes. If we want to go into DAWs once we make sure to get through all these questions.
I think we probably should. So let's. Why don't we go into the DAWs breakouts at this point, and we will also be taking a look at these questions as we're in there. And when we come back and talk a little bit about video editing software, we can also kind of wrap up with these questions if that sounds good to you guys. So, all right, Etika, are you ready to put us into our breakout groups?
All set, here we go. And if you feel like you need to be in another group, feel free to come back to the main room and I can reassign you.
Fantastic, that's great. All right, here we go. The next thing that we're going to do before we wrap up is actually talk a little bit about video editing programs. So, and the three that we're going to cover are iMovie, which of course is free with any Macintosh product, and Final Cut Pro, which is not free, although, as Simon I think is going to point out, you can get a free version, a demo version for a while, which might actually get you through the project, and then also Premiere. So Laser, do you want to take it away and first talk about iMovie, and then we'll go to Simon, and then we'll go to Glenn.
Absolutely. All right. iMovie is a program I do know a lot about. I want to talk to you about it. iMovie is really awesome. It's a super intuitive program. It does a lot of what you want to do. The thing that it is best at is creating really awesome videos that are basically just 1 to 2 things at a time. So if one person's talking and then another person's talking and then that next person is talking back, iMovie's like, yes, we're having a great time. If you want to add some titles, that's great. It's loving it. If you have some transitions, if you want to do a little bit of green screen, iMovie's like, yes, I would love to do some green screen with you. Let's be in the ocean. Let's be in an elevator. Let's party. The one thing that iMovie really is reluctant to do is a bunch of boxes type video, which is unfortunately the kind of thing that I really like to do and that I think a lot of us want to do. It's because iMovie really doesn't want you to have more than one thing on top of each other at the same time. So I'm going to show you the process of creating a boxes video in iMovie looks like this. You have to make a video. You add one student to your video, and then you export it, and then you add another student to your video, and then you export it, and then you add a third student to your video, and then you export it, and then you add a fourth student to your video, and then you export it. You do this over and over again. The great thing is that it is very easy. It's very intuitive. It just is a little bit time consuming because it doesn't exactly want to play with you in this particular way. It would prefer that you upgrade to a different software that costs you money. But it, again, very easy to use. Everybody and my mom can use it. It has some really, really cool effects. You can do really fun stuff with it. But if you are looking to put 30 people in one video all on screen at the same time, that's where iMovie is going to hit a wall for you. And that is my book report on iMovie, a very good software for a limited number of things.
Thank you. Okay, that was excellent. So Simon, why don't you go next and talk to us about Final Cut Pro?
Right, so I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, everyone see my screen? Good. Okay, so Final Cut Pro, basically, if you download it, you can have a 3-month free trial with the full function of the software. So you can use it totally for free for 3 months. So what it's basically a pro version of iMovie, if I explain it that way. iMovie can only do 2 videos in the timeline. And in Final Cut, you can see here, I have many video on top of each other. And basically, I can adjust these boxes and I can move them around. I can move these around. I can make them bigger and smaller. So this gives you a lot of control over than iMovie. And these also a different way of editing. So for example, this is the Latin All-CT Latin project. I have different groups of clips. So as we said before, not everyone play all the time. Sometimes it's only this, for example, it's this part of this song, only these trombones, rhythm section, and singer is playing. So this part, I only show these people. So you can group everything in different groupings, so the video is more dynamic. As we said, you don't have to watch everyone on the screen at the same time. Also, one little thing I want to go over is just the synchronization in Final Cut is pretty as well. In here, as if I zoom in a little more, I think we all just got a little lesson on the countdown. So if you see, if my computer load, 1 second. So here, if you see this is the trumpet, you'll see, sorry, 1 second, slowing. You see here, there's a waveform. So the students basically clap at this point, and you can line this clap with everyone else with the guide track. So this gives you 98%, I would say, accuracy to the music where everyone starts at the same time. But sometimes, the clap might be a little bit, front of the beat or after the beat. It's just a hair difference. So here you can adjust the timing of each student's music accordingly. And I think in the next sessions, we'll talk more details about extracting these each audio tracks and mix it in the audio software. So this basically a little overview of Final Cut for what you can do. And I'll quit my share screen.
Great, that's awesome. And then next we have Glenn Forsyth, who's going to give us a quick overview of Adobe Premiere.
All right, let me jump into my screen share. All right, so can we all see that? Okay. So it's actually quite similar in many respects to Final Cut Pro in the way that you can have no limitations in terms of how many layers to stack on top of each other, which is kind of the downside of iMovie and other apps like that. Premiere is, the main differences is about workflow in terms of what you can accomplish in Premiere and what you can accomplish in Final Cut. They really are very similar platforms, but the method of going about it, I feel like in Premiere, it's very customizable, which is great if you are really into establishing a workflow that only you do. Everybody kind of has their own approach to working with the program, which makes it a little bit more of a learning curve and steeper to collaborate with. That being said, what you can do functionally is pretty mind-blowing, and it's a pretty free form program to get what you need to get done. What we're looking at here is the main interface, and it's sectioned off into just a few different screens. Up on the left, we've got the source window. So if I were to click on any particular piece of footage, let's see here, open the wrong one here. Oh, wrong project. So if I double click on any of the footage, the source monitor allows you to view the raw video file. So this is the video file that you've imported into your project. On the right, this is what's called the program monitor. And this is anything that's actually in your edit. So with any kind of video editing software, you've got your main video file, your raw video file, and then you've got your edit, which is how you're arranging them, layering them on top of each other. So these are the two windows that you can view, either the raw video and apply effects to that, or the sequence itself. Down here, we've got the timeline. This is where all of your editing is actually going to take place, where you can make cuts, move things around. And as you've seen in all of the audio demonstrations, it's very similar. We're looking at things from starting to end, from left to right, and we're going to be looking at audio waveforms for synchronizing and clips for videos. So it's pretty much conceptually very much the same in terms of the timeline. Over here we have the bin, which is really, this is where it gets to be very customizable about how you organize your project, which is going to really, really help you in the long run. So Premiere is great on trying to give you folder structures as if you're organizing files on your desktop. So this is something that you can recreate in Premiere to organize all of your footage exactly how it makes sense to you. So I can just kind of show you really quickly, bouncing over. We can create just a new sequence. So this is what it looks like when you create something new, and without any kind of footage imported in. Quite easy to do that. You just can drag and drop your footage into your footage folder and import them on your timeline like this. And just like the in Final Cut, you can look at the waveform as the quickest way to locate where your clap is. So this right here is the clap, and you can put a marker on that video file. And now things can very easily snap to this marker, assuming you've got snapping on. So if I grab another video file and locate his clap, there it is. Same thing, you can create a marker, and it will be very smart. See, it snaps right into place. Now we've got two video files synchronized. So again, there's a million different ways to do even just that, but that's the idea of what we're trying to do is we're looking at waveforms, looking for the clap, lining them up, and obviously you can nudge and do all fine tunings and things like that later as needed.
All righty, well, thank you, Glenn. We've been having a lot of good action in the chat here, I see. I know we're out of time, and we want to end up quickly. So yeah, I appreciate all of you guys coming and spending some time with us today. Yeah, and in terms of questions that were in the chat, does anybody have one in particular that they are just dying to know the answer to that we didn't get to?
I did want to answer one that was brought up.
Okay, yeah, please do.
Folks had talked a little bit about recording over Zoom and a delay and stuff like that, which I didn't really note at the beginning that all of what we're talking about in the workflow suggestion was about recording asynchronously, like sending out instructions and having folks recording on their own, just because anytime you record over the internet or try to perform over the internet or do any music, there is inevitably going to be lag no matter what you do. And recording over Zoom, even if everybody's recording by themselves, there's going to be time delay, time expansion, that kind of stuff that is almost impossible to line up. I have learned this from experience and wasted many hours of my life. So having everybody record on their own devices and record separately is far and away what I recommend when you're creating remote videos like this. Just record on your phone instead of trying to record it over the internet.
We also had Elaine asking if does it make sense if you're a beginner to start an iMovie. I would say absolutely it does. Just be aware of the limitations that it has, because iMovie does probably have it's the easiest to get going in. Wouldn't you guys say that that's probably true? And then it's very easy to kind of go from there into Final Cut once you kind of get your feet wet if you're an absolute beginner. Simon, Laser, what are your thoughts on that?
I think iMovie is easy. I think Final Cut it's not much. Final Cut has the Apple sleekness. I don't know if we mentioned that Final Cut and iMovie are both only Mac products, and Adobe Premiere has the advantage of also being available for PC, and that's the only PC one that we're talking about. But Final Cut definitely is a product that it's a little bit more complicated, but not impossible.
Yes. So answer some of the question people are asking about computer and boxes. Again, iMovie, you can create 2 boxes only at the same time, but the workflow laser show you basically you export that 2 boxes and add on top of the 3rd boxes. So there's a workaround to do that. In Final Cut, you don't have to do that all the time. So basically, Final Cut and Premiere has unlimited boxes you can do. And I see a lot of people asking about computer and external hard drive. Yes, I would highly recommend put all the videos files and edit it on external hard drive. It will be much faster because it's offload a lot of the computer hard drives workload.
Right.
Also, I think there's a thing we can talk about in the detailed sessions. When you go up to more than 10 videos, no matter what computer you have, it's gonna slow down. But in Final Cut and Premiere, we have a way to basically compress, to basically make a smaller resolution video for you to edit. So you're not editing 10 HD video at the same time. So there's a way in Final Cut and Premiere we can make those smaller files within it. We call it proxy files, and then when you edit it, it won't be like super lagging. And most likely, I would say if you have a MacBook Pro from 2015 up, that shouldn't be a big issue doing that, in my experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that, and I would also just chime in. The one thing that I'm always preaching to my students is to just make backups. My what I would always teach my students is unless it lives in 3 places, it doesn't really live yet. So when you get your data in, especially if you spend a lot of time on your session, definitely have an external hard drive that you save it on. If you can also save it on 2 other places, maybe an internal hard drive and maybe in the cloud, or maybe 2 hard drives, it's just going to save you a lot of pain. when your hard drive goes down, or you know, you lose the hard drive, or your computer crashes, or what have you. So yeah, definitely be kind to yourself. And now data is so inexpensive. Hard drives are so cheap compared to what they were, you know, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and even just 2 or 3 years ago. That I would say, you know, make sure that you do a lot of backups. Anyway, listen, this has been really good. I want to turn it back over to Liz, and we look forward to joining you. We're doing 2 more of these where we're going to dig into the rest of this process, actual video editing and audio mixing, and then putting everything back together again, and strategies for bringing all this stuff together. So once again, thank you to our presenters. All of you guys, I'm really grateful to the presenters and the facilitators, and grateful to Liz for asking us to do this. And Liz, let me send it back over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stephen. This has been really such a wonderful and powerful session. I feel like there's so many great questions and comments in the chat, and opportunities for us to all, you know, connect and learn more about this process. I just know like how many inputs there have been over the time about like really learning how to, you know, build the skills and the comfort to be able to do this. So this is just really fantastic. I know that there are probably additional questions or processes that we want to know about. And I just want to reassure everybody that, you know, in the next session, we're going to do like a little recap of what we talked about today, and then really focus in on the video editing piece. I think, you know, just quickly say this, you know, Stephen, I think maybe one of the things we want to highlight, you know, is how to get your student, you know, the audio out of your students' recording. So in other words, like if your students just send you one, you know, recording each, like just a video recording from their phone, then how do you get the audio to do what you need to do? Because I think in the process, the audio editing has to get done to make an audio track that then you're going to lay the video over. But I think also we need to make sure that we kind of understand how to get the, you know, the audio, those, extract that out of the videos, and then do what we need to do, and then kind of put it back together again. So I just want to highlight that in case anybody's like kind of wondering at this point how those things.
Yeah, you know, and maybe we could speak to that really quickly, because I know if people are going to be doing this kind of in real time as we're talking about it, they'll be getting back their files. The recommended way to do that is really to bring things into the digital editing software first, and then to export the audio from there. And we will definitely be going over how to do that in the next session. That's probably one of the first things that we'll do to lead with. But that's a really good question, and yes, that's definitely something we'll be talking about next time.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I know I know I put this in the chat, but if anybody has like particular questions, things you want to see, you know, please do let us know, because we want to do the best that we can in these sessions to make sure that we address like everything you really need to be able to make these videos. You know, also, like I said, to pace ourselves, next session will be a lot of focus on video editing. And then that last one, you know, our hope was to schedule this like once a month leading up to when your winter concert might be. And so hopefully that December 3rd session, the third session, is going to be a lot of like Q&A and troubleshooting. That session is also intended, like we were thinking, you know, sometimes when you learn a process, there are certain questions that don't come up yet because you haven't gotten deep enough into the process. And then you kind of actually start like getting your feet wet and working in it and getting to know the process. And then there are more questions that arise, you know. So I was just thinking about, you know, you may have things that you don't know to ask now because they're not issues, but then when you're knee deep in it and 2 weeks or 3 weeks away from, you know, being able to like premiere that video for your school's, you know, virtual performances, that's when you might feel like, oh, I really wish there was somebody, you know, to talk to that I could ask these questions and just quickly help me troubleshoot these things. So just to let everybody know, that's kind of what that December 3rd session is intended to be. Again, November 17th is the next one with video, and then December 3rd is like our troubleshooting time. Hopefully about 2 weeks away from when you would show it, and when you're almost there, but you might get stuck. And, you know, hopefully there'll be like a lifeline in having these, you know, that December 3rd session. But Stephen, this has been fantastic. I want to say thank you to the whole team. And I would like to really thank all of our teachers. You know, thank you for coming out again. I hope that nobody feels like embarrassed in any way about being a beginner. We're all learning, we're all in different places in all of this, and I think that it's just the most important thing is to just, come to this with an open mind and an open heart, and be able to like just embrace it and experiment and try new things, and we will learn together, so that there's no question that's too basic. Thank you, and I applaud you for like having the courage, even if you're brand new at this, to give this a shot. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.